Hello everyone, it's Kathy and Rosie Vesperina again. Another summer ride today. Heading out from home, and we'll fast forward shortly to a little bit closer to the new route that we're taking. We haven't ridden to Killcare and Putty Beach before, so this is a new one for you to see. It's very early in the morning, maybe around 6:15 in the morning, and we've headed through Gosford and we're heading up through Green Point, and this is the road that we usually travel on to go and meet Fee and others when we're doing a group ride. We turn left there up into the shopping centre, but this time we're going to keep going up through Green Point, through Kincumber, and then turn right and head towards, and then left and heads towards Copacabana and McMaster's Beach, and then further on to Killcare and Putty Beach. Now we're heading to Putty Beach, and we're going to park inside the National Park and do a walk from Putty Beach along to Maitland Bay Beach. So that's about an 8-kilometre hike or bushwalk, whatever you want to call it, return. And I haven't done a lot of bushwalking because of a few health issues, but we're going to be heading to Nepal in October of this year, 2026, and so I need to start getting fit and healthy for that. So we are heading through Kincumber now. Sorry, this is probably the outskirts of Kincumber. I used to live in Kincumber many moons ago, and I know I probably say this in lots of different videos about all the locations that I've lived in on the coast, and there's been a few, and there's probably 1, 2, 3 different locations in Kincumber that I've lived in, and it's probably my favourite suburb on the coast. It's close to Terrigal and Vodka Beach. It's close to Erina. It's got a good shopping centre nearby and plenty of bushland and Kincumber Mountain, which I often go bushwalking or hiking with my son in. So it's got a bit of everything that I like. Now, once again, Mr. GPS Garmin, when I plugged in the address of where I wanted to go, it chose a route for me that took me through Empire Bay and along Wards Hill Road. And the issue with that is that I remember that coming off Empire Bay Road onto Wards Hill Road, there is a very steep up section with a 15-kilometre sharp hairpin bend, and I don't feel confident that Rosie with her whole 150cc engine can actually get up that hill. And unfortunately it did not give me an alternate route other than going up Wards Hill Road, so I had to use Google Maps again to make sure I knew where I was going. That's another frustration. I mentioned it in the last video. So to our left there is Kincumber Shops, and to our left is the way up to Kincumber Mountain. To our right at this roundabout is the Kincumber Waterfront Walk that I often do with Matthew as well. So we're heading up to the roundabout where to the left you head to Terrigal and Avoca, to the right to Bensville, Copacabana and McMaster's. So had I been following the GPS, I would have gone straight ahead at this next roundabout, but I've chosen to take the alternate route because I don't like the Wards Hill. So we turn left at this intersection, after we let this car go, of course, and then we're going to turn right. And I think the right turn is called the Scenic Road. And around we go. I was a little bit worried that car wasn't going to stop. So now we're on the Scenic Road and we're going to follow this all the way to Killcare and to Putty Beach. We go through the suburbs of Copacabana and McMaster's, like I mentioned, or affectionately called Copa and Max for the locals. They're both beautiful beaches. I really like them because they're a little bit more not secluded, but they're not as what's the word? They're not as built up like Terrigal is, where it's quite a big touristy spot. They're a little bit more low-key. They don't have a lot of infrastructure, and people like it that way. The houses in the area are beautiful. I love it there. I love most places on the Central Coast, if you haven't noticed. So 70 kilometres along here, and then it does drop down to 50. I did pull over a little while earlier and just let a car go past me that was kind of travelling fast, because I wasn't confident that I could do 70 in this area when I don't remember the quality of the road. It's been a long time since I've driven this road, and obviously I haven't ridden on Rosie, so luckily not too much traffic on the road, so I let that car go, or that little truck go, and now there was nobody behind me, so I could just potter along at my own speed. The only I guess issue with this road is that if there's an accident on it, it kind of blocks off Copa and Max in terms of traffic flow, so it's not ideal, particularly I'm assuming in peak hour. And it's probably a good 30 minutes to get from Copa and Max to the train station to go to work, and given that I get up at 4:44 in the morning to go to work in Sydney, that would mean I'd have to get up even a half an hour earlier than that, which would not be ideal. So as much as I love it out here, it's not practical for me to live out here. I probably can't afford it either, to be honest. But when the kids were growing up, they had a lot of friends that lived out here, and so I often drove out here to pick up and drop off when they were at school, but not so much anymore because they're all older. I'm going to be quiet and just let you enjoy the lovely scenery. You can see by the GPS that it's kind of righted itself and now giving me a route now that I'm on the scenic way, which it didn't have on there before. And you'll also notice on the map that obviously to the right is the houses and bushland, and to the left is the ocean. The camera doesn't pick up how steep these roads are, but you saw a young boy on a electric bike, I think, zooming down very fast. So pretty, isn't it? We were a bit nervous about doing the bushwalk or hike today because just in the paper recently down on the south coast was a story about a woman who got bitten by an eastern brown snake, which are Australian snakes, quite poisonous, or very poisonous. Luckily she had a snake bandage in her backpack or whatever bag she was carrying, and 2 other hikers or runners came past and she was able to get them to bandage her leg. Apparently it took about 50 minutes to be able to get the anti-venom to where they were taking her so that they could administer the anti-venom. So I think what happened was that there were a few people on the track, and this lady was on the track but stepped off the track to allow people to come from the other direction past her, and as she stepped off the track she was bitten. She stepped on the snake and it obviously reared up and bit her on the leg. It's a real worry obviously in Australia, the snakes, particularly this time of the year. If I'm hiking in the bush, I always carry a first aid kit, a toilet kit. You'd be surprised how often people get caught out. So first aid kit, toilet kit, and also a couple of snake bandages just in case. From memory, the correct first aid procedure is to immobilise and obviously wrap with the snake bandage, and do not move until you get help from ambulance and transported to hospital and get the anti-venom. I was talking with my friend about this, the risk of the snake bites, and I was kind of pondering about there being an option to have some kind of device that you could inject if you were hiking and you were bitten by a snake, because I think my understanding is that it doesn't matter which snake the anti-venom works for all of the poisonous snakes. I could be wrong about that, but if that is the case, then it would be great if the farmers meaning pharmaceutical companies, could make a device similar to an EpiPen where they could at least administer 1 shot of an anti-venom if I was out hiking and I got bitten, while I was waiting for the ambulance to come to take me to hospital. I'm sure there are medical, chemical reasons why that isn't feasible, but sometimes I invent things when I'm out walking and when I'm skiing and think that'd be a good idea, so maybe one day that'll happen. In the meantime, we take the snake bandage and we make sure that we are aware of the first aid procedure if you are bitten by a snake. I do have some friends who do not like to bushwalk in the summer for that reason, because they're worried that they're going to get bitten by a snake. I've seen a few, but not a huge amount. You would think, given the amount that we have in Australia, that we would see more, but I have seen a diamond python right in the middle of the path and almost stepped on it. They're not poisonous, but you still don't want to step on one, I don't think. So we are still heading through this beautiful bushland towards Killcare and Putty Beach. Not many cars on the road. It's beautiful. A few lumps and bumps. I didn't do the 80 kilometres, which was the speed limit along that road, because I just didn't feel confident doing it. I may have had a car behind me at this stage, but I didn't care, and there wasn't anywhere for me to pull over really to let them pass. So I just figured, given we had the 50k zone coming up or 60k zone coming up, it would be okay to go a little bit slower. So there's an entrance there down to Maitland Bay, which is where we ended the walk and then walked back, and that's a good entrance to go in. The walk down to Maitland Bay is lovely, but the walk back up once you've finished at the beach can be a little unpleasant if it's really hot. It's like you get down there and you have a swim and it's lovely and cool and you feel so refreshed, but by the time you walk back up again to your car in the car park, you're exhausted and you're sweating again from the heat of walking up the hill. But it's worth it when you're down there. It also used to be, years ago, that the northern end of Maitland Bay Beach was the nudie beach, and I'm not sure if that's the case anymore, but it certainly was, and I'm going to say maybe 20 years ago now that I can remember it. But nowadays I'm not sure. It was certainly a beautiful walk along there, and when we were there was hardly anybody there. So we're now heading into the Killcare area. Coming up, I think we've got a little bit of a Harry McClary hairpin bend, and I take those incredibly slowly, but I think that's the safest way. And to be honest, the cars take them quite slowly as well in this area. So I think this is the first of the steep or the sharp left turn. I think it's 25 kilometres an hour around this corner, and I'm probably doing it at a much lower speed, but that wasn't too bad, that one. I'm sure that locals take these corners a lot faster than what I do. I mean locals as in the people that live in this area and commute all the time or travel around this area all the time. There's another very steep corner, and I think this is 15 kilometre an hour corner, and it was a bit bumpy. Anyway, we got round it. And just about to turn left towards where the national park is. It's always so different. It always looks and feels so different on Rosie compared to being in the car. And I know I've said that lots of times before, but it really is very different. Such a great time of the day with the sun coming up. I think in the last video I talked about the sun, or the one before I talked about the sun going down when the sun was going up. Sometimes I get a little bit confuddled. So to our right just there is another car park that we've sometimes parked at, but it is outside of the national park, whereas we're heading into the park, the Booty National Park. You can see the sign there on the left, and on our right is a camping area, so you can come and pitch a tent. You obviously have to pay for the for the camping. It is tent only. You can park your cars out here on the road part, but you can't, like we couldn't bring in the camper van that we have and camp in that. You have to bring obviously your tent in. I don't think that they are powered sites either, so you have to be fairly self-sufficient with your power and what have you, and obviously you set up your tent. But there are toilets here, and I'm not sure about a shower as well, but there's definitely toilets. But you can see all the cars that are parked here. Everybody's having a nice camping few days. Plenty of speed bumps along here as well. So the parking down here in the national park is $8 per for the park, and I think that was from, I'm just waving hello to some young kids that waved hello to me on our right hand side. It was $8 to park, and that gave me parking from whatever time I arrived, which was about 7:15 till about lunchtime. So here we are. I've met my friend Tracy. I can see her in her white van, and we're off for a walk. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.
Okay.